can mimic anyone he's ever seen. He controls the whole army of widows.
He's got to be stopped.
Lucky us.
I want to break something.
You got fat.
It's many waterway.
Black Widow, rated PG-13. Tickets and pre-orders available now. Experience it July 9th.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Yeah, good, Jace. How are you, man? All right?
Good, good. And of course, here, as the title says, above, we're here for a spoiler review for Black Widow, which released globally in theatres as well as on streaming. First time a giant blockbuster Marvel movie had ever done that. So that was a kind of a big deal. And all reports are early, Rick, that it smashed. Well, it did smash, but it did like $40 million on the Friday or whatever. So the numbers are going to be huge for this film cinematically by the looks of it as well. So looks like we've got a win-win situation for everyone. But we're here not to talk about what's around the movie, dude. We're here to talk about Marvel's, what is it, 24th, 25th entry? I don't even know at this point how many films we're in. But we're definitely down the track. Yeah. So, for Black Widow. And so what we're going to do today, rather than talk about the film and then give you what we thought our rating was, we just thought, you know what, we're going to throw our rating out there pretty straight away. And then we'll talk about the film and hopefully we kind of get a better understanding, Rick, of each other's perspective on the film and why we gave it the rating we gave it, and hopefully those guys as well. So, all right, I'm just going to put it out there. I gave this out of 5. We have 5. We run from a very, I would say vintage style of a rating system, and that's video cassettes. So out of 5 video cassettes, I gave it 3.5. And Rick, what did you give it?
I gave it 4 video cassettes. VHS video cassettes, 4.
You gave it 4, and here we go. There we go. So that was our rating. So, and that's, if you were to kind of convert that to a out of 10 or something, that's what I'm giving it a 7 and you're giving it an 8. Yeah. So, but there you go. All right. First time we'd been in the cinema, Rick, for 2 years to see an MCU film in the cinema. That's because obviously there was nothing last year. So certainly really enjoyed the experience in going to the theatre. We had seen a film. I don't want to talk about much before that. No. Combat.
You can check that review out.
It's been a while since we've seen MCU on the big screen, extreme screen here in Australia on the Hoyt Cinema. And, definitely enjoyed the experience. And I generally enjoyed this movie. I mean, I had some tiny issues with it, but I really had a great time with this movie, Rick. What about you?
Yeah, same here, Jace. Look, like you said, we haven't been to the cinema in such a long time, and I guess the build-up, this movie was supposed to come out last year, around May. So it's been sitting on the shelf for such a long time, and, it got put back, obviously, through the COVID and everything else, and it was just so good to get back into the cinema and see an MCU movie. And I was, really super excited to see this movie, and, I was happy. I was happy to watch this. Like I said, I do have a few little issues, which we'll discuss, but nothing major. But overall, this was, it was a good, enjoyable movie.
Yeah. And I think let's talk about, obviously, the positives. I thought the plot, even though it was a fairly kind of simple action play, it worked quite well. I thought that the movie moved really at a quick pace.
It did.
2 hours and 15 minutes, I believe the running time of this film was. Did not feel like that at all. Felt like a 90 minutes. So they certainly get going. But the standouts in these films, it really has got to be Red Guardian, David Harbour, and Florence
David Harbour.
Who definitely is those two characters just steal this film. For David Harbour, so enjoyable to watch in this film. I would say I come out of that going, come on, Disney, give us at least a Disney Plus Red Guardian show, or give us something with that character again, because he was so dynamic and fun to watch. And obviously Florence Pugh, who I hadn't seen a lot.
No.
I thought she was wonderful playing name escapes me now, but Natasha's sister. I thought she was just absolutely
Liana or something.
Liana,
Bob, something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
They're all very similar.
Yes, but either way, I just thought, and I think what works really well too is the family story in this, because it is about family. You know, thankfully not in a Fast and Furious way, but it's certainly about family and the complexity of their family. You know, which is very problematic to say the least. You know, and you know we get a really good. It feels like a long opening sequence of them. In the 80s as a young family living in Ohio, and we quickly get to discover the fact that they're like sleeper agents for the KGB, basically. Yeah. Or was it Hydra at that point? Do we know?
No.
Like the Russians at that stage. So, yeah. But, yeah, no, really great opening sequence. And that, just the way Marvel do everything, dude. The action scenes are just so phenomenal in these films. Like, I mean, it literally, the plot says they have to run away from their house and get on a little light airplane. That's all they have to do, right? That's probably what was written in this script. Then you get this phenomenal sequence on the runway, David Harbour jumping on the wing, and the, you know, what's her name getting shot, and you know, it's what the MCU do so well. They know how to do action scenes. I don't know if there's any. Maybe the guys from John Wick are a bit better at it, but phenomenal opening sequence, I thought.
No, I agree with you, mate. I you know, and that's what Marvel does well, and they delivered. And you know what? Some of the scenes we're going through, the action scenes and everything else. The CGI, this was really, really. Oh, you're right there, dude. Was really good, dude. I couldn't pick a fault in the CGI in this because there were some stellar scenes further on into the movie. But that opening scene with David Harbour as he lifts that big tank out the way and he's jumping on the plane and he's doing all his thing. He was just really, really. And the young girls who played, you know, the two sisters, they were really good at the beginning as well. Just to have that emotion in that scene, it's really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, great opening sequence and. You know, getting that kind of background and building that kind of, you know, we're getting to understand with that opening sequence too, which kind of fills in the gaps between that scene and her modern days. We kind of get to see in like a dream state sequence a montage of some of the things that she was having to go through in her training. Which I thought for an opening sequence, it was phenomenal, you know. Basically we open up with that Florence Pugh character being part of the Black Widow team, you know, and I thought it was a great introduction with the character. She basically gets, you know, I mean, we're going to talk in general terms. I'm not going to break this movie down because but in essence, the reason I wanted to bring up that scene because it just establishes that she isn't the villain straight off the bat. And that was my concern going in, Rick, that it was going to be Natasha versus Florence, basically. Her sister throughout the whole kind of film. And I was pleasantly surprised the fact that it wasn't that. Because of that, I really loved the bond between those two that gets developed, you know what I mean? Even though they know, you know, spoilers and that, is they're not actual really sisters.
They're sisters. You know? They're not an actual family. That's right.
Yeah, they're just basically pawns of the of this guy who then puts them together as a family and sends them on missions, you know? You know, one of the great reasons I think coming back to David Harbour, why he works so well in this film is, he's funny. He can be really funny and he's a likable character. But the type of character that Red Guardian is, like he's past his prime, he's let himself go, he's a bit of a loser. He once was the Russian equivalent of Captain America, you know, and loves to tell these, but never quite made it. He likes to pretend that he was the nemesis, but he was never in Captain America's radar.
No.
So, you know, he tells these tall tales and that about it, which is always hilarious. That one scene in the prison when that big guy goes, Captain America wasn't even out of the ice.
Oh, yeah.
And then just cracks his head. Smashes his wrist and laughs at it. But no, it's really good, you know, and it leads to another great sequence when the girls are breaking him out of the prison. Another great action sequence, you know.
Solid.
And the movie does move at a real kind of good pace, you know. I mean, the problem we have generically with this film, I would think most people are going to have with it, is that the stakes for Natasha are never really there. We know she lives because it's a prequel film.
We know.
So no matter what situation she's in, you're always going to know that she's going to make it.
Yeah.
And that is a problem with the film. But it's clearly they've tried really hard, Rick, to overcome that by putting no stakes on the other three characters in Natasha's family or pseudo family. And I think that works well because we get a sense of, you know, we don't know if the other characters, we've never seen them before and they could die.
Yeah.
And I think that was great. And that was the way I think it's still there of like, Natasha's not going to get hurt. What's the big deal? She's in Infinity War and then Endgame. But either way, we still get that tension that you need from these type of films with the other members of the family, which I think is just good storytelling. It's just a good way to kind of get around it, you know. So, yeah. Taskmaster. What do you think of Taskmaster, the villain?
Look, for me, Taskmaster is a very complex character to develop and actually show on the screen. I think they did okay, but my issue, this was one of the issues that I had with this movie, just Taskmaster, they needed to develop a bit more. He was hardly in the movie as a main villain, but I wanted to see more from Taskmaster. It wasn't much. Even some of the fight scenes were very bland for me, you know. Yeah. Some were really good. The one with David Harbour, that was kind of a little bit weak. They kind of like, you know, they had the fight scene, they get into it, and then they just cut away and then and come back, and it kind of, you know what I mean? That kind of just
that's a big little bit in my book. I hate films do that.
Exactly. So, that was a bit of an issue for me for Taskmaster. I would still love to see more development, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you about Taskmaster. I mean, such a great character in the sense of what that character is capable of. It's the perfect mimic. So he can go up against anyone in the MCU and be able to mimic their skill set, which I think is a very powerful thing. And so I'm disappointed at the fact that villain will no longer continue.
Well,
because by the end of it, unless she relapses,
we never know. That's right.
My wife, who obviously went with this book, she had a real issue.
She did
with the way that the girl they had inside the suit.
It's predictable. We knew it was
and this is my wife, right? This is my wife. She had issue because it just didn't look right. She's not. She's this big bulky thing. And I said, yeah, maybe she's kind of like inside a mech suit, just like a bigger mech suit. But, excuse me, my wife, she was not a fan of that at all. She felt very let down by that character.
Yeah.
So I don't really have an issue with that. I just have an issue why that villain's not going to be around more, because I think it's a villain to have in and out of movies throughout the MCU, because it's always a danger. It's always a danger if you've got someone that can fight exactly the same way you can fight. So, probably a little bit disappointing. And, it didn't really – we really only got to see snippets of Taskmaster's capability in this as well. Yeah. So,
but
and very –
you never know. They might bring her back. She didn't die. They just took her away. So, who knows, mate? We'll see.
Anything's possible in the MCU. We know that.
Yeah, mate.
So, look, I mean, besides that, though, Rick, I mean, even though you felt that some of her scenes weren't, the Taskmaster scene, I really loved the one in the street. the one where they're driving the tank, the Taskmaster driving that tank, and just plowing through those cars, chasing the girls. I think that was a solid action scene. Yeah. I do love the final action scene of this movie. I just love the location. I love the way it's shot. Yeah, I don't know. I really dug the action scene at the end, you know. But that's all that's memorable now I'm thinking about it, you know, because I watch, and obviously the breakout prison scene, which we mentioned before, I really like that scene. I think that was a lot of fun because you've got the dual storyline of the girls trying to pick him up from the chopper and him trying to break his way through.
And he couldn't get up the top.
Yeah, he couldn't get up. And it's just so well done, you know. Some of these great scenes is when the family actually gets together. They go back to see Rachel Weisz's character, the mother in this. All three of them get to go back, and I love that scene around the dinner table. That kind of character development and bouncing off each other. I just ate that up. I thought it was really good, and this is where the film does get plaudits for me because I think the character development in this film, or getting to understand the characters and what they're all about, for me, was really good. Like, I just felt I understood everybody's perspective and point of view as an audience member going through this. So I'd give this, I certainly think the way that they got the audience to understand all their backgrounds without it dragging on too much.
I thought it
was cool.
Yeah.
But does it? I mean, Rick, does it stand up to be? You know, how does it stand up in the sense with some of the other MCUs? You know, does it feel like a little bit of a letdown because the last films that we've seen have been pretty spectacular from the MCU?
And true, but you know, it does hold up. And the good thing I liked about this movie is that, you know, it was like a Jason Bourne spy action type movie, which was really good. Yeah, you know what I mean? They weren't, the plot wasn't, they got to go save the world and you know what I mean? It was just and that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. You know, I guess we were talking about David Harbour a lot, you know, because he is fantastic in this. My only little thing then, this is one of the little issues I had, I wanted to have a little bit more emotion and depth with his character in some of the scenes, you know. I kind of felt like he was just gagging too much. They'll get to a certain point, and then he'll break out a gag in a serious moment when they could have just lifted him up just that little bit more. Especially that scene when, you know, Florence is walked away from the table and she's upset. They go in the room, and then he kind of sings that song, and then they have a bit of a gag laugh, and then they get attacked. Yeah. I just wanted, you know, David Harbour's such a great actor, and just to see him do that, have that little bit more emotion in it. But apart from that, he's fantastic in this.
Look, I absolutely hear you there, Rick. I felt I got it though throughout the entire thing. The stakes of where your emotion was at with this. And I suppose I got a lot of that from the runway scene, that opening scene
at the beginning.
I felt we got a lot of where the emotionality of his character was coming from. But totally hear, man. But I mean, if any of them are underserviced, Rick, I would say probably Rachel Weisz's character.
She needs to be more in this. She's a fantastic actor. She needs to be.
Yeah, but her character, I mean, we know that she's basically been working for the system the entire time, you know, out of just trying to survive at that. But we don't get to see a lot of her background and her backstory in this at all. But still, they just surround these films with just you know, top tier level actors to perform. So, and when you have a caliber actor like that, you know, fantastic. So
that's right.
But it's great. It's a film like, I really feel like if I was to watch, you know, Civil War, I would say to somebody, okay, after Civil War, watch Black Widow. And then go watch, you know, the other ones in a row. But it certainly is you know, we get to understand more of her motivation now and her decision making in Endgame. I think really not just her death scene, but how she's trying to keep it all together in the beginning. Trying to build that kind of community family type of thing in that horrible situation of the blip. So, yeah. No, Scarlett was great. The movie was good fun to watch.
Amazing. Yeah.
Like, it's not Infinity War. It's not Civil War.
No.
But it's not the Thor: The Dark World either. It sits there in the really good quality MCU movies.
Better than that.
So, yeah, absolutely. I reckon it's in the Black Panther range of films for me, which I'll put that around the same kind of level. 7 out of 10, 3.5 videotapes. That's where it sits for me.
No, it was good. And, and you fill the gaps, like you said, Jace, this movie fills the gaps about her past. We find out a little bit more about Budapest, what actually happens, because we do see her, we know a little bit about her throughout the universe MCU. We hear it all through the movies. Like, in Avengers, he says about the Dracov, Loki says that, you killed Dracov's daughter, the Red Ledger and all that. And then it all comes out, obviously, in this movie, and we see a little bit more, which was really, really good. I'm glad they didn't go more in depth with that. It was really good. But yeah, all around, this is an enjoyable movie. If you got a chance, go watch it at the cinemas, because it is an enjoyable movie at the cinemas to go watch.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, the other thing probably we haven't mentioned, what could have also, the fact that we have been so flooded with Marvel content at a high level in our homes this year. Like, we were almost finished the 3rd series of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. So then when you go into, when the movie opened and the MCU banner was playing, I'm like, I'm going to hear that again. I've been hearing that so much this year. And yeah, it does kind of, I wonder if that's affected our perception of what the movie is like. But being in the cinema on the giant screen with the music booming, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So yeah, definitely go and see this film. I will be rewatching this film quite a lot as time goes on. So it's just one of those films that's it's good. It's good. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say, Rick. I'm done.
And if you are going to go watch it in the cinemas, we haven't discussed it yet, Jace, but do hang around at the end, because there is an end credit scene, which is really really
the after credit scene, which we're going to spoil now, which is
it's a spoiler review.
It is basically her at the gravestone of Natasha, because obviously this is Endgame, and we get a visit by Madame Hydra, who we had seen in Falcon and Winter Soldier, with John Walker, now US agent.
Yep.
And originally, as we know, Rick, this film was supposed to come out in May of 2020, which was going to be prior to Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's right. And this is the first time we would have seen her character.
The first time you're supposed to see her character, but the way the schedules end up working out, this is the second time we've seen it, which I think actually works better in this.
I think it did.
It gives us a context of where all that is at. And great little scene. And it basically really leading towards the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, isn't it?
Yep, it's all linked into that.
Yeah, it's all linked into that, because Madame Hydra saying basically Hawkeye's the reason your sister is dead. So they set that up quite well. They're obviously setting up the Young Avengers, Rick.
Yeah,
that's the aim here. The MCU is setting up the Young Avengers. You've got Hawkeye with Kate Bishop going to be taking over. You've now got to have a different Black Widow. We know Ironheart's coming into the game. We know Miss Marvel's into the game, setting up the Young Avengers. That's where it's kind of leading to in my book. But there you go. That's our spoiler review. Kind of spoilerish. I mean, I didn't want to spoil everything in it, but
just go watch it. Just go watch it.
Just to go watch David Harbour. Just go.
Yeah.
He's that good. So, and here's the difference, right? Hang on, before we go. Mortal Kombat, right? The only thing good about Mortal Kombat was Josh Lawson. Standout, funny character. Now, you can compare it with this film, but the difference is you have your standout, funny character, but everyone else is awesome as well.
That's right.
Instead of Mortal Kombat, he's the only decent character in that movie. So, but there you go.
Let's not get him started.
My hate for Mortal Kombat's now spreading over to our other reviews. That's how unbelievable. All right, Rick, that's it. We've been cracking on long enough. That was our spoiler review for Black Widow, guys. Well, I've got nothing more to add. Have you got any more to add?
That's it, mate. I'm all good, guys. We'll
see everyone next time. See ya.
See you later. Thanks.